Child labor is the exploitation of children through any form of work that deprives them of their childhood and interferes with their ability to attend school. Similar to a lot of today's issues in the world, poverty is the root cause of child labor. Unemployment and the need to survive lead families to make desperate decisions and to send their children into the workforce so that they can make enough money to stay afloat. In the 18th century, the arrival of a newborn to a rural family was viewed by the parents as a future beneficial laborer and someone who could take on more work in the household. At an age as young as 5, a child was expected to help with farm work and other household chores. Lifestyles in America often required large quantities of hard work, whether it was planting crops, feeding chickens, or mending fences. Large families with less work than children would often send children to another household that could employ them as a maidservant or plowboy in order to make more money for them. With the growth of manufacturing, many families believed it was a great opportunity to avoid their child not being able to work. Now that work was less complex because of the introduction of machines, children had more potential job opportunities and were able to earn more money for their families. With the advances in machinery, society could avoid the issue of unprotected children, and the children could easily create products. Colonial laws were often modeled after British laws and sought to prevent children from becoming a burden on society. At the age of 13, many orphan boys were sent to apprentice in a trade, while the orphan girls were sent to domestic work. Generally, children, except for those of richer families such as northern merchants and southern plantation owners, were expected to be prepared and grateful for employment. As economic tensions increased between England and the American colonies, the desire for an independent manufacturing sector in America became more pronounced. By manufacturers employing women and children, men of the household could still tend to the farm at home, while the women and children worked in factories, altogether earning more money than they were before. Although mostly the economic value of work for children was emphasized, it's important to understand the underlying benefit that was also important in its growth during the 19th century. The value of organizations such as the Charles Loring Brace Children's Aid Society, or CAS, provided orphan children with work, often boys. It emphasized that they would treat the lads as independent little dealers and give them nothing without payment. CAS believed that the best way to bring children out of poverty was to have them work in honest trade. In order to do this, they taught children to work in skills such as shoemaking. They found out soon that New York City did not have enough honest jobs in their opinion, and they established trains to move orphan children out west in order to find better jobs. During the last quarter of the 19th century, efforts expanded at the state to outlaw the employment of small children as progressive child labor reformers gained traction. Many failures at the state level caused many reformers by the early 1900s to believe that federal law might be the best option, although the limited role of the federal government under the Constitution made this prospect very difficult. Between 1885 and 1889, many new laws were passed in states, including 6 set maximum working hours for children and minimum age laws. Edgar Gardner Murphy was the first noted proponent of child labor legislation in the South and was an Arkansas clergyman. He founded the National Child Labor Committee, or the NCLC, in 1940 and attempted to organize support for child labor restrictions among mill operators. As one of its initial efforts, the NCLC drew up a model child labor bill copying the best features found in progressive states. The bill contained a minimum working age of 14 for manufacturing and 16 for mining, and specified a maximum workday of 8 hours, required proof of age, and outlawed night work. The Keating-Owen Child Labor Act of 1916 limited the working hours of children and forbade the interstate sale of goods produced by child labor, although it was later ruled unconstitutional by the Supreme Court. This act was the first child labor bill. It was based on a 1906 proposal by Senator Albert J. Beveridge and used the government's ability to regulate interstate commerce to regulate child labor. Many people today believe that enterprises play an important role because they are one of the direct employers of child labor. I agree with this, as I believe larger corporations and enterprises often use child laborers as a way to decrease the expenses they may pay on labor. And by getting rid of many of these child laborers, they can help decrease the amount of child labor going on in the world today. In the end, I do believe in the beginning, child labor was sort of necessary for impoverished families in the early 19th century, but as life went on and more opportunities for higher paying jobs increased and education became more important, child labor has become very unnecessary for many people, especially in well-off countries such as the United States. In order to learn more about the topic, I wish to look more into how impoverished families in other countries who might not be as well off as us may be positively impacted by their children having factory jobs that people nowadays may look down upon.